So it looks like it's going to be hot, 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 and we are going to have a hot show this morning. We're going to have a little competition, a little face-off, musical face-off competition. We want you to text in. Today, Guns N' Roses have announced they're going to release a children's book, Sweet Child of Mine. And also Tom Jones has announced that his Irish concerts will be rescheduled until next year. So it's Guns N' Roses versus Tom Jones. Who do you prefer and what's your favourite song? Text me please, 083 333 975, or you can call Audrey on 051 846 123. Tom Jones or Guns N' Roses? There you go. That'll sort of get you thinking now on a Friday. Fabulous songs from both bands, so let us know what you have. Obviously Tom Jones and his band down through the years. We are going to be talking to some Leaving Cert students in a minute. We're going to be talking to Fianna Fail as well about this apparent revolt within the party. Following on from Seamus O'Neill's interview yesterday and the letters to the papers, we have a statement from Fianna Fail in the party locally. We're going to be talking and hearing from Mary Harney down in Dunhill. And also we are going to be talking about the soldiers in the Lebanon. Edward McBride is going to talk to us. He is going to be talking to us about charities. We've got some big advice for people that are doing events over the weekend. And pharmacies are now saying that they could be in trouble. Some of them could be in trouble because people aren't going to pharmacies the way they used to. Bishop Alphonsus Cullinan is going to come on to us to talk about outreach activities, including the exposition of the Blessed Sacrament. And are churches open? And we are going to talk about lots of other matters. Before I talk to the students, I want to give a special mention to the soldiers in the Lebanon. We were on again yesterday to a few different people around Ireland and also in the Lebanon. They still haven't been told their dates where they would be coming home. It is disgraceful. It really is disgraceful. It's also quite strange why some of the other main national media organisations haven't picked up on it. So I would encourage anybody that's listening this morning to text or email, or if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag or the handles, as they say, for any of those organisations and ask them to publicise this, because it really is, nothing's been happening. Like, a lot of them have been on parade. Some of them were told they were coming home yesterday. Some of them due to come home next Tuesday and still haven't been told. It's just not fair. And I know there's a lot of families listening this morning of loved ones, and they are just really pulling their hair out. It's disgraceful that they haven't been told. We understand about the whole issues regarding the United Nations and all that, but surely to God something could happen about it now. Now, talking about something happening, there might be something happening this morning regarding the Leaving Cert. I think we should have Conor O'Sullivan on the line, De La Salle, and Sarah Roger, Yates College, formerly Newtown. Are you there, Conor?
I am. How are you, Damien?
Good, thank you. Apologies for mispronouncing your surname the last time. And we have Sarah on the line. Are you there, Sarah? You are?
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. So listen, if we have breaking news this morning regarding the Leaving Cert possibly being cancelled and confirmation of that, we will bring it in the programme. Firstly, I want to ask you, Conor, we had you on the programme here a few weeks ago and you were obviously talking about the different stresses that one is under as a student, mentally and physically, in terms of studying. How are you this morning after what you heard last night, that it looks like the Leaving Cert now is going to be cancelled? What's your thoughts on it, Conor, first?
A bit relieved stress-wise, because it does relieve stress, because we don't have to continuously motivate ourselves every morning to get up and try to study when we have no motivation to study. So that's kind of a good stress relief for most students I know. And a bit happy with the decision myself, because there was really a bit of uncertainty around am I going to do good now because the whole pandemic going on, but now it's kind of settling in that it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Sarah, what's your thoughts this morning?
Well, there's just been so much uncertainty for so long that it's good. I suppose it's not really confirmed yet, but it's good to finally have some clarification on something and, an idea that things are actually going to be sorted out and we're going to be given a straight answer.
Yeah, if for example, the government decides this morning not to announce it's not going ahead, there'll be even more confusion. So whatever figures, whatever information they were giving out to journalists last night, sort of privately, or whatever journalists found out, and fair play to them for doing that. But it's really difficult, Sarah, and it's a shame that it's come to this, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, if they did announce that actually it was going ahead, it would be a pretty big disappointment, I think, to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connor, I don't know how your line is there, Connor. Some noise in the background. It's like Jaws coming up from the deep there in the background. Connor, tell us about predictive grading, Connor, and whether you'd be in favour of it or not.
Yes and no, to be honest, Damien, because just like everything, like there's like a bit of pros and cons with it. Because some schools do more tests than other schools, and then it's also you have to bring into like how some tests can be easier than other schools as well. So there's kind of, I guess, a no answer to it. But myself, I kind of, with the situation I'm in, I'm kind of happy with where I am. If it does go ahead with predictive grades.
Yes. What about you, Sarah? What's your thoughts about the predictive grading?
I think it would be all right, but the two main concerns that people are worried about, I think, is that one, the sort of, I guess, bias that is really unavoidable between certain teachers and students that, will just happen no matter how fair you try to make it, and also the appeals process that would happen because, this has been an issue before, even last year, where they had a whole trial in order to avoid appeals grades coming back after college placements have happened. And now they're saying the appeals tests that you would have to take if you're not happy with your predicted grade, that would be in January, long before the college year has started, which, could be an issue for a lot of people.
And the predictive grading aspect brings up so many different things because, like I was talking to a student yesterday, a friend of the family, and she didn't do great in the mocks because, she wasn't sort of focusing on the mocks and was really gearing up for the Leaving Cert, and that's the way she was doing it. It's like somebody coming in a race, an 800-metre race, you make a big burst for the last 200 metres and that's what you're planning for. So what about those students, Connor, that are really, really maybe disappointed that predictive grading could not suit them?
To be honest, it's kind of the fact that everyone's not going to be happy with the decision. I understand where they're coming from, that the fact that they didn't really put in effort for the mocks, but the mocks are there for students to actually sit an exam and kind of get used to what the Leaving Cert would be like. So there should have been kind of some effort put in from where I see it, that this is just like every other exam, you put in your best effort.
A couple of texts coming in, obviously people having different views on this, and parents and students would have different views on this, and then others that don't have. For example, somebody says students don't want exams. Nobody does. Of course they don't, Connor. The amount of legal action over this will far outweigh doing the exams. What do you think, Sarah Lee? Do you think there will be some students and their parents that will say, OK, I'm going to take a legal course on this? Because, for example, in Yates College, you've gone to Yates, spending a lot of money there, and it's an extra Leaving Cert year maybe, or some people are going straight from fifth year into Yates. So a lot of people have invested a lot of time and money in this, and you really want to get the grades that you feel you deserve, isn't that it?
Yeah, and I think probably there may be, a few parents who will decide to take that. I'd say we'll see an increase of repeat next year. I think that's, unavoidable. People who would, are just going to say, I'd rather do it again and take the test that I've been preparing for. And I think most students will be okay. I think that maybe, unfortunately, a few people who didn't do well at the mocks, or maybe were planning on cramming right before the test, which, is certainly a method. I think everyone engages in a sort of last-minute push, like you said, and unfortunately that means a few students will miss out, and there will possibly be more repeats next year.
Yeah, the possibility of repeat will be high up. Connor, in terms of talking to your friends and people that you'd be in touch with in your circle of friends, what's the general view about this?
Most of them are happy with the decision because it relieves a lot of stress. But I know some of my friends who are doing medicine and the likes of that are kind of in a panic because they obviously had to take the HPAT, and they said like the HPAT didn't go as well, so they're kind of banking on the actual Leaving Cert to come and help them. So that's kind of one way they're looking at it, is like, what am I going to do now? But the majority of my friends that I know anyway are happy with the decision of it being cancelled.
And Sarah, what about your friends?
Yeah, there's definitely a general feeling of relief, sort of a sigh of right, you know. I think the question really is how the rest of the year is going to happen, I suppose, because technically we still have a month of school left, and the big question is, like, will that be counted in our predicted grade? And, you know, do we have to treat the next month like a sort of extended Leaving Cert to try and up the points? You know, it's sort of the pressure's off but also on in another sense.
Yeah, it's just so difficult for you. Our hearts go out to you. Conor and Sarah, thank you very much, and to all your family and your friends, mind yourselves, and we'll keep in touch, okay?
Thanks.
Thanks, Damien.
Thanks very much, Conor. Conor O'Sullivan there, and Sarah Roger, De La Salle and Yates College. Thanks to both of them for joining. This is on the likely cancellation of the Leaving Cert and the grading based on class rankings. Some people have texted in. My daughter didn't work until the Leaving Cert itself, and she crammed, and she got 445 points, a very good mark. Teachers would not have given her that. So there you go. There's a very good example of some students that they literally just pace themselves in such a way that they're going to make it. Others saying there will be legal action out of this. This is going to be a big mess. Others saying, what about fifth year students? They're missing out a massive part of their curriculum. Will concessions be made for them next year? That's very true. Very true. You're going to have that there as well. Another text, all the students repeating next year will have an advantage over those in fifth year, making college places more competitive. So there's going to be a knock-on effect on this. Damien, just wondering, what is the rule regarding building sites? There's one particular building site I notice has opened up in County Waterford. I'm just wondering, has this building site permission to do that? Building sites, we understand, are due to open on May the 18th, but are some building sites starting before others? I don't know. We'll try and find out. The only building sites that are supposed to be open at present are the ones that have been designated by the government, and we reported on that a few weeks ago. These are social housings, effectively, social houses that are being worked on. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of being worked on, the texts are flooding in already. We've got 5, 6, 7, 9 texts for Guns N' Roses, and we've got some texts for Tom Jones. Delilah Mary Whelan's texted in. We've got Anna in Kappa Quinn texting in. Is it unusual for people to be texting in? Welcome back. In a second, I'm going to be talking to Seamus and Jason about where now to burst the party or to rebuild the party or to keep the party going on. We got a massive response yesterday following Seamus O'Neill's diatribe, some people would say. Other people were saying a complete and utter brilliant analysis of how the situation is. Keep your texts and comments coming in. Margaret O'Connor, Clonea, Guns N' Roses, 083 333 975. Josie Barry in Crook. Other people texting in from many different parts of the city, county and across the southeast. Seamus and Jason, good morning.
Good morning, Damien. Good morning, Damien.
Morning, gentlemen. You can chat to each other as we go through this little piece if you want. Obviously, a little bit of interruption if you want, but just make sure you're not talking over each other. This is about Fianna Fail, and this is about the idea of Fianna Fail going into coalition. And last night, just this morning, we got a statement from John O'Leary. We had John on yesterday. He is chairperson of Waterford Fianna Fail Corla Dáil Counter, basically saying they have full confidence in the leader and the negotiating team charged with endeavouring to form a government during these unprecedented times. Membership has been kept up to date on developments, and he further indicated it's inappropriate for individuals within the party to purport to represent the views of the membership of Fianna Fail. I'm going to start with you, Jason Murphy, because you're a sitting Fianna Fail councillor. Is this a direct attack on somebody like Seamus O'Neill and his ability and his right to talk about the party he loves so dearly?
Well, I think Damien, you read that statement a little bit different than I would. I think everyone is entitled to an opinion. I think where the difference of opinion is that Seamus will be purporting to represent the opinions of the party in Waterford. that's a different thing. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I don't think that that you read out from John O'Leary.
Well, what he said, What John O'Leary said is it's inappropriate for individuals within the party to purport to represent the views of the membership of Fianna Fáil as has previously happened. Now, what Seamus O'Neill said yesterday quite specifically was he represents, and he's been contacted, he said, by 100 people. So he's not saying, so for example, 100 people, we know there's 400 members at least in Fianna Fáil in Waterford. So he's not saying he represents the views of the majority or even a big minority. He says 100 people have contacted him. So he never said he represented the views of the membership of Fianna Fáil.
Yeah. I don't see, to be honest, Damien, I don't see any contradiction in what you said there and in John O'Leary's statement. I think what John has said is that nobody, myself included, should pretend that they represent the membership of Fianna Fáil. Well, the important thing in this is we'll have a vote in this, Damien. This is a very emotional and emotive argument. I know Seamus O'Neill quite well, and I'd probably count him among one of my friends. And Seamus spoke yesterday in very emotional terms. I'd be very emotional about this now. I'm speaking on the phone to you. I have a picture behind me of my great-grandfather in Bodenstown in 1928. And look, those people took very brave decisions as well. I mean, I don't have to give you a history lesson, Damien. You know very well the history of Fianna Fáil. We broke away in 1926 from the third Sinn Féin.
Okay, Jason.
We have a history of making brave decisions. You opened this programme as if it's some kind of soap opera about Fianna Fáil. This is not really about Fianna Fáil. This is about the future of the country. We're in an unprecedented crisis at the moment. The country needs a government. Fianna Fáil is going to have to step up to that plate and provide government. That's what it's really about. It's not really about some kind of Coronation Street soap opera within Fianna Fáil.
Okay.
That's my view.
Well, I don't know what soap operas you're watching, but I find it quite disparaging that you would say that I would represent a major discussion internally within one of the main parties in Ireland for the last 70 years as a soap opera. I disagree with that completely. And I'm going to ask you quite specifically, we'll finish off with the John O'Leary thing, Jason. 1 second, I want to bring Seamus in. On the John O'Leary thing, he said yesterday that the majority of people within in the Waterford constituency, the membership of Fianna Fáil, are fully behind. So he was purporting to represent the views of the Waterford constituents in terms of the Fianna Fáil membership. Yeah.
Well, John O'Leary is chair of the Court of the All County. He's in an elected position.
Yes.
So I would say that John O'Leary has his ear to the ground in relation to that. And we as elected councillors are the same. I'm talking to members every day of the week, not just in Waterford, but around the country as well. Of course, this is a huge decision. This is a very emotional and a very tough decision. And what you said there is correct, Damien. You're talking about two parties that have been diametrically opposed for 80 years since the foundation of the state, potentially, that's important to say, potentially coming together. We don't know. There's a lot of things that have to fall into place yet.
Very much so. Okay, hold the line. Jason, stay there for 1 second. Seamus O'Donnell, you were a Fianna Fáil member for 30 years. You're an independent councillor now. What's your view on what you're hearing, what you heard yesterday, what you heard John O'Leary say, what you heard Jason's talking about this morning? Tell it to me from your heart, because I know you're very passionate about this as well, Seamus.
Well, I tell you, Damien, it's about a week ago I was speaking to John O'Leary concerning, and I said that Fianna Fáil would have a problem with going into government with the Greens. Now, the Green Party would be my biggest danger here in rural Ireland. Not so much for the cities, because the majority of the Green parties are coming from the cities, like Cork, Waterford, Dublin, and so on. And you see, if they'll go into government with Fianna Fáil or Fianna Gael, what's going to be the outcome will be the farmers will be wiped off the board.
Okay, Seamus, I'm not going to get into the Green Party issues at the minute this morning, please, if you don't mind, because I want to talk about the nub of this issue, and this is about Fianna Fáil. And this is about your analysis of the history and the tradition, and as Jason says, the passion that Fianna Fáil members have. So, like, Mark O'Cahusig is from Waterford and from Tramore and that area, so he would dispute what you've said. But let's focus, if you wouldn't mind, on do you think, or what do you think of the opposition within Fianna Fáil to going into coalition?
No, they shouldn't go in. They should stay out. They shouldn't go in. I was 22 years on the Court of the All County in Waterford. I was director of for the European Parliament at one particular time, and I was chairman and secretary in and out between. But my honest opinion is I make quite a number of calls over the past couple of weeks on this matter. I went to Cork yesterday, and I was in Kerry, and I was in Galway, and I was in quite a number of counties.
I hope for essential business, as they say, yes.
No, it's people that had good Fianna Fáil people that I knew there in the past, and that is still in it. My honest opinion is Fianna Fáil should not go into coalition with any of the two parties.
Okay. Jason Murphy, what's your view about it? Quite specifically, again, a direct question. You know, you and me, we like direct conversations. Should Fianna Fáil go into coalition?
I'm going to be honest with you, Damien, and I always try to be. When the results of the election came out there back in February, which was actually 3 months today without a government, I knew there was difficult times ahead for the country, but in particular for Fianna Fáil, that we were going to have to make very, very difficult decisions going ahead. And I've spoken to people in those 3 months. So my opinion has changed. This has changed over the last couple of weeks. COVID-19 has changed everything. And you know well that I work for Deputy Mary Butler here in Waterford, and I speak to Mary on a daily basis about this. There's great pain within Fianna Fáil about this. Huge pain. But I think Fianna Fáil, we recognise that we need a government. We need a government going forward. This is not about Fianna Fáil. This, like I said, and I've had this conversation with Mary, things are going to get worse for Fianna Fáil in terms of poll numbers and whatever going forward, because there's going to be a lot of difficult decisions having to be made. But what we need to do as a party, and I think Mary Butler's on board with this and speaking to us, we have to make decisions to put a radical programme for government in place that can deliver on the things that were the subject matter in coming up to that election. Housing, health and so on and so forth. That's what we had to do. I have faith in the Fianna Fáil party that we can do that. We can influence government. If I didn't, I wouldn't be in Fianna Fáil.
Okay, so you're doing it.
Yeah. Huge sea change.
As I said yesterday, the pragmatism that's there. I hear where you're coming from, Jason. A lot of people would agree with you within Fianna Fáil, and probably the majority within Fianna Fáil would agree with you. But there might be a lot of people that disagree with you. I want to ask.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, I want to ask Seamus. Seamus, do you think that this has the potential to split Fianna Fáil, to burst the party?
No, actually, I have nothing to do with the party, really. I have very good friends in Fianna Fáil because I was there so long, of course. I don't want to split any party, but what I can see and what I can hear, if Fianna Fáil is going to go into coalition, they're not speaking really about Fine Gael, they're not speaking about the Greens. The Greens is our biggest danger.
Sorry, go on, yep.
They are our biggest danger in government. Now, to go back to the 1930s,
Janie Seamus, come on now.
Now, I know, but now, I tell you, Damien, you can see for yourself the way things are going. And there's no pubs open, there's no shops open, there's no hotels open, there's nothing open. And if this will continue much longer, it will even go worse than the 1930s.
So,
because I often heard my father speaking about the 1930s, and he was a member of the old IRA, and I guarantee you that if he'd be turning his grave today, if the like of this was coming up, signing up with the like of the Greens and Peter Green.
Okay. Jason, what do you think that Seamus says, that we're heading back into very difficult times, and that basically that you're out of touch? People are texting in, you're sadly out of touch, you're hitched to Mary Butler, and you're wrong about this, as a few texters coming in.
I think what Seamus says there has a lot of validity. And as I opened up at the start, Fianna Fáil has never been afraid of making brave decisions. We were founded on a brave decision to break away from Third Sinn Féin, to recognise the oath as an empty formula, to go into the Dáil and to change Ireland for the better. I still think that Fianna Fáil can deliver that, but it's going to get tougher, and I appreciate that it's going to get tougher for Fianna Fáil. This is a long-term programme, but I think Fianna Fáil is strong enough to survive this and to bring the positive influence that it has always done in Irish life. And we have to be brave now. government is not for the faint-hearted, and I don't think there's faint-hearted people in Fianna Fáil, in fairness.
Jason and Seamus, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Yes.
Thanks, Damien. All the best.
Okay, Seamus, you want to come in there with the last word, do you?
Yeah, Damien, I want to come in there. I tell you, Damien, if this is going to go ahead, they're going to join up, that's on about, I guarantee you that there'll be a lot of things happening and a lot of cuts, and who'll be blamed for it? Fianna Fáil will be blamed for it again.
You could well be right. We just don't know. Seamus, mind yourself. Seamus O'Donnell, thank you very much for joining us. And Jason Murphy, thank you very much for joining us. As I say, a lot of people texting in about this, wondering who is going to be the next child of Fianna Fáil. Now, keep your texts and comments coming in. Deirdre has called in, has texted in. Damien, have you got nothing else to discuss? The country's on its knees. We need a government. Are you totally against Fianna Fáil? You're a joke at this stage. There's nothing funny about this, Deirdre. This is very, very serious business. This is senior hurling business, as we say. Frank has texted to say, one thing your excellent show today and yesterday has shown is that there are real Fianna Fáil people and there are lukewarm ones. Ooh, let us know what you think. Other people saying I'm in Fianna Fáil for many years. I totally agree with Seamus O'Neill. And others texting in to say, no, the Taoiseach, Micheál Martin will be a good Taoiseach. And fair play to him. And others saying that. We got a lovely text in there regarding Jim Hegarty in Passage East. He celebrates his 80th birthday. Jim taught at Sculler Con in St John's Park for 31 years before his retirement in 2004. His former pupils would remember with fondness his stories and tales from around the world, and that's from Harry Flynn. Everybody in Sculler Con would like to wish Jim many more years of good health and happiness. Hear, hear, I would say to that. Jack says he was out for a walk in Bunman this week and the council are all gowned up spraying weed killer. Surely they shouldn't be doing this on a windy day. Well, maybe the wind wasn't there at the start of it, I don't know. Speaking of mid-Waterford, I went to Dunhill recently and I spoke with Mary Harney. As you know, Harney's shop and pub. The pub is closed at present, like all pubs, and the shop has been going since 1922. They've decided to close their doors and we're going to hear why. Mary Harney in Dunhill. How are things?
Yeah, keeping well anyway, yeah, and should just staying in, going for a little walk around outside, over the graveyard and getting out. The weather has been good, which is a great help, I mean, imagine being stuck in and looking out at the rain all day long. It's lovely to be able to get out and do a bit of washing, hang out the washing, just potter around outside. And
it's great being in a place like Dunhill. There is a little bit of space just to walk around within the 2 kilometre area.
There is, yeah. Well, I suppose, like at my age now, we're not supposed to go that far, are we?
And how are you managing? Some people, certainly in the last week, when they heard that the restrictions weren't going to be lifted and they're going to stay for another bit longer, did it get you down a little bit, or what? How did you react?
Well, not really. It didn't. You'd love to be able to get out and making plans for where we're going to go when we can eventually get out. But no, I'd be more conscious of this being under control and that would be safer to get out.
Tell us about the shop.
The shop. Yeah, it was very sad. Very sad. Because Jim would have hated it, he wouldn't have allowed it, but it wasn't viable, to keep open, and especially, as John Paul was saying the other day about, when the Anne Valley, when the 2 mile radius, when that came in, I mean, there's literally, I mean, you see it yourself. There's nobody around, there's nobody around. It's so quiet. It's just unreal, You wouldn't, see very few cars passing, and yeah, it's just so different, so different. The one thing that I hear every morning is the battle bank, and that's the sign of a different.
People are getting rid of their empties.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, that's the way it's gone, isn't it? I believe the off-licence sales are up by. But you're what do people do? You just have to.
I was here with you last year. We were talking about the shop and trying to keep it open.
Yes, yeah.
the importance of the local shop. Like, how quiet was it in the last 6 weeks?
Oh, sure, it was just terribly quiet, yeah. It was... Yeah, like even at that, we just opened. We tried opening just from like say 8:30 to 3:00, and just sell the papers and milk, and we used to get the bread, fresh bread in the mornings and that, just to keep that going. But it wasn't viable. It wasn't working, and I suppose in reality the Bauer was subsidising the shop like for years, like
1922 the shop was open.
Yeah, in 1922.
And you were just
Jim's father bought it, yeah, and he bought just the pub, and he built on that shop then, and he was a great businessman. But
what was his name?
John Harney, yeah. And I never knew him now because he died actually quite young.
But you were going through some old pages.
Going through the lots of stuff I have to go through, actually. It's so interesting. It's fascinating, really. In 1925, there was 253 debtors on the books. Yeah, and people used to come and they'd get their groceries, they'd pay for last week's and get next week's, and for the farming community he used to sell the grass seeds and fertiliser, and they would get credit till the autumn, till the harvest went in, and the grain was paid for, and yeah, and
do you still have all of those?
I have a lot of that.
Such to be great historical records.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But I was even looking at when Jim's father, then he was sick for a long time, and I'd say, that it nearly, broke the place really. He was up in St. Vincent's Hospital in Dublin for ages. Some of the bills are there now, but there's one, and it's hilarious. There was a Professor McGrath. He was from Cappoquin, but he was a consultant up in St. Vincent's Hospital, and there's a letter from him, and it's goes kind of, I'm going away, and I'll send down some serum, and this serum, you've been on it for a year now, and it's been known to work in Australia, but I need money now for the hens to make the serum. So I don't know what hen the serum came but imagine, yeah. Now that's. I wonder would it be any good for this COVID-19?
Will you say or see how things go, or what's the thoughts?
I don't think it'll ever be, what it was, but maybe, if when the pub reopens and that we could do, say the papers and just essentials, say milk and bread, which is what people mostly came for, and cigarettes, of course.
That would be like returning to the old days when the pub and the shop would be one.
Well, yes, yeah, that's right.
Going back 40, 50 years.
That's right, yeah. That's the way. There were so many pubs like that. They just had the bare essentials like that people might need, and come in and have a pint and bring home the groceries. If you remember them out.
And where are people going now? They're just having to go elsewhere?
I'd say the majority of people go to Tramore.
Yeah. It's sad, but as you say, there was no other way.
There was no other way. Yeah. There was no other way. We tried for a long time, and it just wasn't viable. I mean, you just have to be sensible and do the maths.
Best of luck. Family are good. Yeah. Health is okay.
Yeah, thank God. That's everything. I will indeed, Damien. I will indeed.
And from everybody here in WR, want to wish all the Harneys the very best, and everybody in Dunhill and anybody who has used that shop over the many, many years. And you never know, it might be back, but at the minute it's not looking very good. Some lovely texts coming in. Kit has said, give my regards to Mary, our walking circle of friends, miss our coffee and scones, her coffee and scones. Some breaking news, the National Ploughing Championships have announced they are cancelling this year's event in the interest of public safety. So the National Ploughing Championships, due to take place in September, have been cancelled. Over 3 days each September, the championships attract over 300,000 people from all over the world. So a decision has been made to cancel that. Some texts and comments coming in. Could you please wish Mary Ann Keogh in Passage a very happy 40th from Bernie in Dunhill. She loves Guns N' Roses. A good text in from Sean Dower. Sean said, what Jim O'Neill said yesterday is that he had 100 names calling for a vote, not saying he had 100 names against going into government. The statement from Councillor Leary was on behalf of the Officer Board of the CDC following a Zoom meeting in which I participated. That's from Sean. Thank you very much for that, Sean. Keep your texts and comments coming in. 083 3333 975. Now keep your texts and comments coming in, but I want to go straight to Edward McBride, Chair of the Irish Guide Dogs in Waterford Viking Branch. Good morning, Edward.
Good morning, Damien.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Indeed, thank you very much for having us on. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Today is National Guide Dog Day. What is National Guide Dog Day, please?
It's a very important day in the calendar for the Irish Guide Dogs this year in particular, because obviously with what's happened with the pandemic, our funding has crashed, like everybody else's. In fact, I can give you a figure that we're going to be down about €2.5 to €3 million.
Wow.
And that's a serious number in anybody's imagination. And there's a huge effort being made by the community, the guide dog community, nationally. They're all our volunteers on all sort of social media platforms. But the Guide Dog Day is the day we appeal to the public. In normal years, we will be on the streets of all the towns and cities, dressed in our gear with our dogs and assistance dogs and guide dogs. But of course, this year that cannot happen, and indeed for the foreseeable future. And
the work you do, just to remind people, the work that you do is phenomenal. Like 111 puppies currently being raised who need continual formal training, and high demand for the assistance dog programme. 100 dogs in total to be born and purchased during the remaining of the year, and all the work that you do with children with autism. It's phenomenal, the amount of work you do. You want to talk about puppy raising and the assistance programme, Edward?
Yeah. Puppy raising, I'm actually involved, myself and my wife do a little bit of that. We're actually on our fourth puppy at the moment. Our fifth one actually. And it's really very rewarding. People say to me, how do you give the pup back? And the honest answer to that is with great difficulty.
Yeah.
But you take the long-term view, and I can tell you, Damon, when you meet the people who use the service, that is the people with visual impairment and the families with children with autism, when you meet these people and talk to them, you can really get a grasp of the difference these animals make, these dogs make to these people. I mean, we're all in lockdown at the moment, as you know. I'm cocooned, and you can imagine a visually impaired person doesn't have the independence at all that we normally have, and they can't come and go if they please. But with a fully trained guide dog, that comes back to them. They're independent again.
Yeah.
It's
phenomenal. I just have so much respect for anybody that does it, and for yourselves, Edward. You're a fabulous, marvellous organisation. Like, there's currently 35 guide dog clients currently awaiting services. 45 dogs currently in training, need to complete their training, begin the matching process. What do you want people to do today? Obviously, money is the first thing. So let's talk about donating and helping, because the guide dogs do need money. So what's the first way? What's the first thing you want people to do today?
Simplest thing for people to do is text WOOF, W00F, to 5300 to text €4. That's a simple one. You can also donate online. You can ring the headquarters in Cork, and you can electrically transfer your donation if you wish. Or if you want to send a cheque to the headquarters in Cork, that would be very welcome as well. But I mean, we do need the support this year in particular, as I said, because of the hole in the funding. And I mean, for us to maintain the service going forward, we need this money for the benefit of these people who are not as well off as we are, so to speak.
Yes.
Especially the assistance dogs, because there is a huge demand for those dogs. When you speak to the people who have them, they say that their lives are totally changed. The children are so much calmer, and they're safer as well, Damien, because these dogs are trained in such a way that they calm the children, and when they get upset, and the dogs, they have a calming effect. But also, these children are inclined to bolt, and these dogs are trained in such a way that they actually stop the children bolting. They hold them. And if the truth was known, they've actually saved some children from serious injury and worse in these instances. So,
yes.
It's very important that we get the people behind us. And I'd have to say, from my experience of fundraising, the generosity of people, the public, in Waterford where we operate, is absolutely extraordinary. They're so generous, and when they hear of all the other work we do, we do in the centre, we do independent living. We train people who are visually impaired how to live safely. How do you boil an egg? How do you boil a kettle? How do you pour a cup of coffee? All these things we take for granted. This is done in Cork, as well as white cane training. And, Damien, this is all a free service.
Yes.
We get a very little help from the state.
It's phenomenal what you do. And the number again, 53,300, is it?
Text WOOF, WOOF, to 5300, 50300.
50300, 5300, 50.
There's other things on the platforms.
Yes.
Go into the website. It's all there, and you can look at the website and you get testaments from all the users of the services, how they're getting on with their dogs, and it's really interesting stuff. And it's really, it makes it all worthwhile when you're involved.
Edward, the time has come up against us, and
fantastic,
and thank you so much, and continued success to you and everybody and all the volunteers with the Guide Dog Association.
Well, Damien, I appreciate your time, and again, I thank the public anticipation.
Thank you so much. Edward McBride, appreciate it. Lovely to talk to you. Mind yourself. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Edward McBride there, Chair of the Irish Guide Dogs Waterford Viking Branch.